BHP Billiton is an Anglo-Australian multinational mining, metals and petroleum company headquartered in Melbourne, Australia. It is the world's largest mining company measured by 2013 revenues. BHP Billiton was created in 2001 through the merger of the Australian Broken Hill Proprietary Company Limited and the Anglo-Euro-Dutch Billiton Plc. The result is a dual-listed company. The Australia-registered BHP Billiton Limited, which has equal financial share in the company, has a primary listing on the Australian Securities Exchange and is the largest company in Australia measured by market capitalisation. The UK-registered BHP Billiton Plc has a primary listing on the London Stock Exchange and is a constituent of the FTSE 100 index. It had a market capitalisation of approximately £41.5 billion as of August 19, 2014. On August 19, 2014, BHP Billiton announced the company would be split in two. A newly formed entity named NewCo would house the company's non-core assets. Capitalised at $15 billion, the new entity would be listed on the Australian Securities Exchange. History: Billiton was a mining company whose origins stretch back to September 29, 1860, when the Articles of Association were approved by a meeting of shareholders in the Groot Keizershof Hotel in The Hague, the Netherlands. 2 months later, the company acquired the mineral rights to the tin-rich Billiton and Banka Islands in the Netherlands Indies archipelago, off the eastern coast of Sumatra. Billiton's initial business forays included tin and lead smelting in the Netherlands, followed in the 1940s by bauxite mining in Indonesia and Suriname. In 1970, Shell acquired Billiton and accelerated the scope of progress of this growth. The tin and lead smelter in Arnhem, the Netherlands, was shut down in the 1990s. Billiton owned a tin smelting and refining plant in Phuket, Thailand called Thaisako, which still exists today. Billiton had an offshore tin dredging company called Billiton Thailand Company Limited which was closed in 1985 due to the falling of tin price. In 1994, South Africa's Glencore Limited acquired the mining division of Billiton excluding the downstream metal division. Billiton was divested from Glencore in 1997. BHP Billiton remains one of the largest companies listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in South Africa by market capitalisation. In 1997, Billiton plc became a constituent of the FTSE 100 index. In the UK, throughout the 1990s and beyond, Billiton plc experienced considerable growth. Its portfolio included aluminium smelters in South Africa and Mozambique, nickel operations in Australia and Colombia, base metals mines in South America, Canada and South Africa, coal mines in Australia, Colombia and South Africa, as well as interests in operations in Brazil, Suriname, Australia and South Africa. In 2001 Billiton plc merged with a Broken Hill Proprietary Company Limited to form BHP Billiton. Broken Hill Proprietary Company. The Broken Hill Proprietary Company Limited, BHP Company Limited, BHP, also known by the nickname the Big Australian, was incorporated in 1885, operating the silver and lead mine at Broken Hill in western New South Wales, Australia. The Broken Hill Group floated on August 10, 1885. The first consignment of Broken Hill ore was smelted at the Intercolonial Smelting and Refining Company's works at Spotswood, Melbourne. The resulting 35,605 ounces of silver raised a lot of interest when exhibited at the City of Melbourne Bank in Collins St. Some skeptics asserted the promoters were merely using silver from somewhere else to ramp up the shares. Another shareholder, the dominating W.R. Wilson had to lend, William Jameson, general manager, a new suit so he could take the first prospectus, printed at Silverton near Broken Hill on June 20, 1885, to Adelaide to start the float process. The geographic Broken Hill for which the town was named, was discovered and named by Charles Sturt, and created much interest among prospectors, but nothing of note was discovered until Charles Rasp, boundary rider for the encompassing Mount Gipps station, pegged out a 40-acre claim with contractors David James and James Poole, then with half a dozen backers including station manager George McCulloch formed the Broken Hill Company to stake out the whole hill. In the ensuing months of fruitless search and with costs mounting, several of the original 7 parted with their shares, and at the eve of the company's great success there were 9 shareholders, including Rasp, McCulloch, William Jameson, Philip Charlie, David James, James Poole, Bose Kelly and W. R. Wilson. John Darling, Jr. became a director of the company in 1892 and was chairman of directors from 1907 to 1914. In 1915, the company ventured into steel manufacturing, with its operations based primarily in Newcastle, New South Wales. The decision to move from mining ore at Broken Hill to open a steelworks at Newcastle was due to the technical limitations in recovering value from mining the lower-lying sulfide ores. The discovery of Iron Knob and Iron Monarch near the western shore of the Spencer Gulf in South Australia combined with the development by the BHP metallurgist A. D. Carmichael of a technique for separating zinc sulfides from the accompanying earth and rock led BHP to implement the startlingly simple and cheap process for liberating vast amounts of valuable metals out of sulfide ores, including huge heaps of tailings and slimes up to 40 ft high. The company began petroleum exploration in the 1960s with discoveries in Bass Strait, an activity which became an increasing focus. BHP began to diversify offshore in a variety of projects. One project was the Octady copper mine in Papua New Guinea, where the company was successfully sued by the indigenous inhabitants because of the environmental degradation caused by the mine operations. BHP had better success with the giant Escondida copper mine in Chile and the Ekati diamond mine in northern Canada. The inefficiencies of what was, by global standards, a small steel operation in Newcastle finally caught up with the company and the Newcastle operations were closed in 1999. The long product side of the steel business was spun off to form One Steel in 2000. 2001 to 2011. In 2001, BHP merged with a Billiton mining company to form BHP Billiton. In 2002, the flat product steel business was spun off to form BHP Steel. In 2003, BHP Steel changed its name to Blue Scope Steel. In March 2005, BHP Billiton announced a $7.3 billion agreed bid for another mining company, WMC Resources, owners of the Olympic Dam copper, gold and uranium mine in South Australia, nickel operations in Western Australia and Queensland, and a fertiliser plant also in Queensland. The takeover achieved 90% acceptance on June 17, 2005, and 100% ownership was announced on August 2, 2005, achieved through compulsory acquisition of the last 10% of the shares. On November 8, 2007, BHP Billiton announced it was seeking to purchase rival mining group Rio Tinto Group in an all-share deal. The initial offer of 3.4 shares of BHP Billiton stock for each share of Rio Tinto was rejected by the board of Rio Tinto for significantly undervaluing the company. It was unknown at the time whether BHP Billiton would attempt to purchase Rio Tinto through some form of hostile takeover. However, CEO Marius Kloppers met with many of Rio's shareholders following the announcement and reiterated that the offer for Rio was compelling, and that BHP Billiton is very patient. A formal hostile bid of 3.4 BHP Billiton shares for each Rio Tinto share was announced on February 6, 2008. The bid was withdrawn on November 25, 2008 due to a global recession. On May 14, 2008, BHP Billiton shares rose to a record high of $48.90 after speculation that Chinese mining firm Chnalco was considering purchasing a large stake. BHP representatives had no comment. On November 25, 2008, Billiton announced that it would drop its $66 billion takeover of rival Rio Tinto Group, saying that the risks to shareholder value would increase to an unacceptable level due to the global financial crisis. On January 21, 2009, the company announced that in response to the global financial crisis the BHP Billiton Ravensthorpe nickel project in Western Australia would cease operations, with a resultant discontinuation of shipments of ore from Ravensthorpe to the Abulu nickel plant in Queensland, Australia. Subsequently the Abulu refinery was sold to Queensland billionaire Mr. Clive Palmer. Additionally, the Pinto Valley mine in the United States was closed. In total, 6,000 employees were laid off, including those laid off with the scaling back at some other projects. On December 9, 2009, BHP sold its Ravensthorpe nickel mine, which cost $2.4 billion to build, to Vancouver-based First Quantum Minerals for $340 a million. First Quantum was one of three bidders for the mine and actually produced the lowest offer. The Canadian company plans to have the mine back in production in mid-2011. Ravensthorpe cost BHP $3.6 a billion in write-downs when it was shut in January 2009 after less than a year of production. In January 2010, after BHP Billiton bought Athabasca Potash for $320 million, The Economist reported that by 2020, BHP Billiton could produce approximately 15% of the world demand for potash. In August 2010, BHP Billiton made a hostile takeover bid worth $40 a billion for the Potash Corporation of Saskatchewan. The bid came after BHP's first bid, made on August 17, was rejected as being undervalued. This acquisition marked a major strategic move by BHP outside hard commodities and commenced the diversification of its business away from resources with high exposure to carbon price risk. The takeover bid was opposed by Government of Saskatchewan under Premier Brad Wall. On November 3, Canadian Industry Minister Tony Clement announced the preliminary rejection of the deal under the Investment Canada Act, giving BHP Billiton 30 days to refine their deal before a final decision was made. On November 14, 2010, the company announced that it was dropping its offer for Potash Corporation of Saskatchewan, 2011 to present. On February 22, 2011, BHP announced that it paid $4.75 a billion in cash to Chesapeake Energy Corporation for all of the company's Fayetteville shale assets, which include 487,000 acres of mineral rights leases and 420 miles of pipeline located in north-central Arkansas in the United States. The wells on the mineral leases are currently producing about 415 million cubic feet of natural gas per day. BHP plans to spend $800 a million to $1 a billion a year over 10 years to develop the field and triple production. On July 14, 2011, BHP Billiton announced that it would acquire Petrohawk Energy of the United States for approximately $12.1 billion in cash, considerably expanding its shale natural gas resources in an offer of $38.75 per share. In August 2012, BHP Billiton announced that it was shelving its $20 billion Olympic Dam copper and uranium mine expansion project in South Australia, as a result of falling commodity prices and slowing global economic growth. The company simultaneously announced a freeze on approving any major new expansion projects. Days after announcing the Olympic Dam pullout, BHP announced that it was selling its Yallourn uranium project to Canadian Cameco for a fee of around $430 million. The sale was part of a broader move to step away from resource expansion in Australia. In 2014, the company announced that its total output had increased by 9%. Iron ore production in Western Australia reached a 14th consecutive annual production record of 225 million tonnes. Output of metallurgical coal and petroleum both also increased by 9%. As of 2014, BHP are the jersey sponsor of MLS team Houston Dynamo. On August 19, 2014, the company announced it was splitting BHP Billiton in two. A newly formed entity NewCo was to house BHP Billiton's aluminium and manganese businesses, the Cerro Matoso Mine, Energy Coal South Africa, Illawarra Metallurgical Coal and the Cannington Mine. To be capitalized at $15 billion, the company's shares were to be issued to BHP Billiton shareholders on a pro-rata basis, and listed on the Australian Securities Exchange, with a secondary listing in Johannesburg. Corporate affairs: the Australian BHP Billiton Limited and the British BHP Billiton Plc are separately listed with separate shareholder bodies, but they operate as one business with identical boards of directors and a single management structure. The headquarters of BHP Billiton Limited, and the global headquarters of the combined BHP Billiton Group, are located in Melbourne, Australia. BHP Billiton Plc is located in London, United Kingdom. BHP Billiton also has corporate centres in Johannesburg, South Africa and Houston, USA, and offices in Perth, Santiago, Singapore, Shanghai and The Hague. The company's shares trade on the following exchanges. Senior management. Following the merger between BHP and Billiton in 2002, Brian Gilbertson of Billiton was appointed as the corporation's chief executive officer. In 2003, after just 6 months in the CEO role, Gilbertson abruptly stepped down and cited irreconcilable differences with the boards as the reason for his resignation. Upon Gilbertson's departure, Chip Goodyear was announced as the new CEO and he continued in that role until his retirement on September 30, 2007. Marius Kloppers was Goodyear's successor. Following the end of Kloppers' tenure in 2013, Andrew Mackenzie, the chief executive of Non-Ferrous, assumed the role of CEO. In response to investor demands and a diminishing mining boom, BHP Billiton announced in mid-April 2013 that Mackenzie's remuneration package would be 25% less than that of Kloppers. Barry Fitzgerald, writing for the Australian newspaper, stated that the decision represented the introduction of a new era of austerity for the corporation. Operations. Current. BHP Billiton operates a wide variety of mining, processing and oil and gas production operations in 25 countries, employing approximately 41,000 people. The company has 10 primary operational units, referred to as customer sector groups: aluminium, base metals, diamonds and specialty products, energy coal, iron ore, manganese, metallurgical coal, minerals exploration, petroleum, stainless steel materials, uranium. In 2011, BHP Billiton produced more than 600,000 tons of aluminium as well as over 2 million tons of alumina. Their iron ore production increased to 134.4 million tons per annum, which makes it the third largest producer of iron ore. BHP Billiton produced 500,000 tons of copper in 2011, a decrease to the year before, as well as 70,000 tons of nickel. In addition, it has subsidiary logistics companies BHP Transport and Logistics Proprietary Limited and BHP Freight Proprietary Limited. Mines and facilities: Algeria, Oanit Gas Field, Rod Gas Field. Angola, Diamond Exploration. Australia, Appin, New South Wales, Area C Mine, Western Australia, Bass Strait, Victoria, Blackwater Mine, Blackwater, Queensland, Broadmeadow, Queensland, Cannington Mine, Queensland, Dendrobium, New South Wales, Eastern Ridge, Western Australia, Illura, New South Wales, Goonyella Riverside, Queensland, Gregory Cranham, Queensland, Griffin, Western Australia, Groot Eland, Northern Territory, Hunter Region, New South Wales, Jimblebar, Western Australia, Kalgoorlie, Western Australia, Kambalda, Western Australia, Kinana, Western Australia, Leinster, Western Australia, Minerva Offshore, Victoria, Mount Keith, Western Australia, Mount Whaleback, Western Australia, Nickel West Operations, Northwest Shelf Venture, Western Australia, Norwich Park, Queensland, Olympic Dam, South Australia, Orbides 18, 23 and 25 Mine, Western Australia, Peak Downs, Queensland, Port Hedland, Western Australia, Sarawagi, Queensland, Tamco Georgetown, Tasmania, West Cliff, New South Wales, Worsley, Western Australia, Yandi Mine, Western Australia, Yarrie Mine, Western Australia. Brazil, Aluma Aluminium Smelter Refinery São Luís, Samarco Iron Ore Mine and Pelletizing Plant Belo Horizonte. Canada, Potash Development, Saskatchewan. Chile, Escondida, Cerro Colorado, Spence. Colombia, Sarajevo Den Coal Mine and Guajira Department, Cerro Matoso, Ferronickel Mine in Carcubda Doba Department. Guinea, Sangaridi Bauxite Mine and Alumina Refinery. Indonesia, Ita Gold Mine. Mozambique, Mosul, Aluminium Smelter. Pakistan, Zamzama Gas Field. Peru, Antamina. South Africa, Bayside, 100% owned aluminium smelter in Richards Bay, Hillside, 100% owned aluminium smelter in Richards Bay, BECSA. comprises several coal mines in the Witbank-Imalilini area in Pamalanga, Metalloys manganese production facility in Muatan, Gauteng, home including Mamadwan and Vessels mines near Hotazel in the Northern Cape. Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, Angostura oil and gas field. United Kingdom, Liverpool Bay oil and gas field. United States, Permian Shale, Texas, Eagle Ford Shale, Texas, Haynesville Shale, Louisiana, Fayetteville Shale, Arkansas, shale natural gas fields, including the associated midstream pipeline system, New Mexico Coal Company, coal mine in New Mexico consisting of San Juan and Navajo mines, Southwest Copper, Arizona, San Manuel, Arizona, Pinto Valley, Arizona, Gulf of Mexico, oil and gas field, Resolution Copper, near Superior, Arizona. Former, Papua New Guinea, Octady Mine, copper, cause of a large-scale ecological disaster in the Octady and Fly rivers. The United Nations Environment Programme has noted that BHP a unregistered trademark S Octady Mines City a unregistered trademark S uncontrolled discharge of 70 million tonnes of waste rock and mine tailings annually has spread more than 10 km down the Octady and Fly rivers, raising river beds and causing flooding, sediment deposition, forest damage, and a serious decline in the area's biodiversity. The resulting devastation caused by the mining of Octady has included the loss of fish, a vital food source for the local community, loss of forest and crops due to flooding, and the loss of areas of deep spiritual value for villagers are now submerged in mine tailings. Corporate social responsibility. BHP Billiton is a signatory participant of the Voluntary Principles on Security and Human Rights. BHP Billiton and BHP Petroleum provided $3.4 million Australian dollars to sponsor the Australian leg of the global, 10-year study census of marine life, conducting a count of the species occupying the world's oceans, and in particular the Great Barrier Reef. In June 2011 BHP Billiton agreed to donate $10 million Australian dollars to fund the establishment of 2 energy institutes at University College London the Energy Policy Institute, based in Adelaide, and the Institute for Sustainable Resources, based in London. Environmental responsibility. BHP is one of the 90 companies that extracts and markets fossil fuels responsible for 2/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions since the beginning of the industrial age. Its cumulative emissions until 2010 have been estimated at 7,606 mtco, 2e, representing 0.52% of global industrial emissions between 1751 to 2010, and ranking it the 19th largest corporate polluter. According to BHP management, 10% of these emissions are from direct operations, while 90% are from products sold by the company. Although BHP has been voluntarily reporting its direct GHG emissions since 1996, it has been criticised in 2013 for lobbying against carbon pricing in Australia. Accidents. Inclement weather caused a BHP Billiton helicopter to crash in Angola on November 16, 2007, killing the helicopter's 5 passengers. The dead were, BHP Billiton Angola Chief Operating Officer David Hopgood, Australian. Angola Technical Services Operations Manager Kevin Eyre, British. Wild Dog Helicopters pilot Coty Breet, South African. Guy Sommerfield of MMC, British. And Laurens Prinsloo of Prinsloo Drilling, Namibian. The helicopter went down approximately 80 km/50 miles from Alto Coelho exploration facility in northeastern Angola. BHP Billiton responded by suspending operations in the country. See also. References. External links. Official website, London Stock Exchange BHP Billiton plc stock quote, Australian Securities Exchange BHP Billiton Limited stock quote, BHP Billiton products and services, competitors and contact details.